Do you know how many troops Mexico had on the border last year?
It goes up and down.
15,000.
It goes up and down. It's temporary. So now they're getting a permanent force.
Let me ask you, is 10,000 more or less
Is permanent better than temporary?
You know what's more?
All right, folks, this is a lot of fun. Last night, CNN featured 2 separate panel debates about Donald Trump effectively surrendering in the unnecessary trade wars that he triggered with Canada and Mexico. And both of these panels featured smug MAGA Republican stooge Scott Jennings and his arch nemesis, Washington Post economic columnist Catherine Rampell. But what makes last night so interesting is that it was a double feature, and Rampell not only humiliated Scott Jennings in these debates, but visibly triggered him on air, and we have to talk about it. But before we do, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we got several clips to talk about here. I got to say, Catherine Rampell is right up there with Jessica Tarlov in my view. She is a damn good debater with a robust command of the facts, and she is fearless. It doesn't matter what the odds are. It doesn't matter if she's outnumbered 2-1 or if it's just her versus Scott Jennings. She is brutal, and she is unstoppable. And you see it here where she taunts and mocks and visibly triggers Scott Jennings over the fact that Trump got played, and Scott Jennings can't deny it. So we're going to play these clips and unpack it together.
Catherine, to Ashley's point, quantify what the actual impact is here. For people saying, look, the market bounced back, no tariffs were put into place, Trump got what he wanted, all's well, we'll do this again in 30 days. Is that kind of the reality from an economic perspective?
I mean, I don't know what Trump wanted in this situation. Again, he didn't actually get anything. But if he were to put these tariffs in place, they would be very painful for American consumers. Okay, Scott. I mean, this is
the total lie.
This is public information.
He got what he wanted. He got an agreement from our neighbors to do more on the border. That's what he wanted, and he got it.
Exactly what they have already been doing.
I understand you're the minister of propaganda tonight, but you don't have to be. You could just say, "Hey, all's well that ends well." Here, come on.
If you don't know that these countries are committing to do exactly what they have already been doing, either you haven't done your homework or you think the American people are idiots. Because again, they're doing
option three. Donald Trump is enforcing what needs to be done at the border, which is more help from our friends. They are our allies and they are important people, but they need to help us, and they've not been helping us, and now they're going to help us even more.
They have been.
But the point is that it's also
ask every family with a fentanyl death how much they've been helping.
Scott, can I just ask you?
Well, they have done nothing more.
Scott, can I ask you though?
It's so funny. She's so good, right? She's obviously having the time of her life because the facts favor her. And Scott just has propaganda. Scott just has wishful thinking. And to be clear, as we discussed, when we discussed Donald Trump blinking in these trade wars, there's going to be a robust media effort by right-wing media to spin this as a win. So Scott may get what he wants, which is the optics win. Rampell is just defending the fact that on the merits, Trump really didn't win. And we'll get into it probably in subsequent videos. But that was a clip from the earlier panel debate, okay? Then they show up in studio later on that night, and it gets also pretty heated. Again, you see in the first clip, Jennings is triggered. He can't help it. He doesn't fare much better in the clips I'm about to show you.
Behavior modification. He's trying to modify the behavior of our neighbors, and he's already having some success with these strategies. If you look at what he did with Colombia, if you look at what the news was over
nothing happened with Colombia
either.
They were taking deportation flights.
I love this show.
No.
This is my favorite show.
Because you're lying.
Let's all scream at Scott.
It's called informing our audience.
Hold on.
Colombia was already taking deportation flights.
Scott, I do know that you love this part of this. I know that you love this part.
That's what I know. I'm right. And behavior.
So you will remember that in the first unnecessary trade war that Trump triggered, he also blinked because all Colombia wanted was for the deportees leaving America to Colombia to be treated humanely, as they were under the Biden administration, which is why they accepted all kinds of flights from the Biden administration. And Trump, as we discussed in the reporting, the New York Times had a breakdown of it, the Trump administration agreed that they would not handcuff Colombian deportees, that they would be treated humanely. It's that simple. That's all they wanted. So Trump effectively gave Colombian President Gustavo Petro what he wanted, even as he's beating his chest saying, oh, I dunked on them. Pathetic. Here's another clip.
to change
No,
the subject
I'm not.
to Colombia.
I'm wrapping it all together. It's all part of the same thing.
Let's go back to what Trump got for threatening a 25% tariff on Mexico and Canada. What did he get?
On Mexico, he got a permanent set of troops, not temporary, just during surges. He got permanent troops. And on Canada, let me tell you what he got. Let me tell you what he got.
You cannot just, hold up, you can't just like insert your own qualifications into this. Where does it say that it's permanent?
The White House told me tonight that the commitment they have for Mexico is that they will put permanent troops.
Do you know how many troops Mexico had on the border last year?
It goes up and down.
15,000.
It goes up and down. It's temporary. So now they're getting a permanent force.
Let me ask you, is 10,000 more or less
is permanent better than temporary?
You know what's more? You know what's more? Not to change.
She's so good at trolling. Again, this is true. Remember what we discussed in the previous videos, which is that 4 years ago, under President Biden, Mexico agreed to put 10 to 15,000 troops on the southern border. And they've been there under the Biden administration. And Biden didn't have to trigger a trade war to get that concession, nor did he have to threaten tariffs or jeopardize the stock market or jeopardize a decades-long alliance with a key trading partner. He didn't have to do any of that. Trump exerted so much more effort and so much more risk jeopardizing these relationships to get what Biden got by vastly superior diplomacy. It's pathetic. And again, I love the fact, wait, are the 10,000 greater than the 15? Well, it's permanent. Well, these troops have been here for years under the Biden administration as well. So what exactly meaningful did Trump accomplish? Here's another clip.
It's the uncertainty and the chaos.
First of all, Trump is trying to repackage the status quo as a victory. That's what the leaders of these foreign countries are learning. You don't actually have to give Trump anything.
You just have to make it seem like
you have to let him announce victory on TV. Second of all, it's not actually back to the status quo. It is worse than the status quo. As Richard points out, we have tarnished our relationships with our allies whose help we need to rein in China, which I know you care about. Beyond that, think about the additional uncertainty that's being added to the business environment right now. If you are a company and you don't know if tariffs are coming or they're not coming, you don't know if your input costs are going to go up or they're not going to go up,
that's true.
Why would you invest? Why would you invest in oil pipelines, for example, to Canada?
Exactly. And again, she's so good. She's talking about the long-term potential consequences for this. Like, even if we grant the premise, which we're not going to because the premise is wrong, that Trump won, the fact of the matter is, even under that generous premise, he won in the short term, but in the long term, this could drive two of our three biggest trading partners to our third biggest trading partner, which is China, the closest rival we have militarily and economically, who wants to supplant the United States as the world's dominant power. Those are the consequences of when you use the stick as opposed to the carrot with countries that we have a close alliance with. The stick was totally unnecessary. Again, Biden got these concessions from Mexico already, and even more. Biden got a $1.5 billion border security investment from Mexico, which is $1.5 billion more than Trump ever got, even though Trump promised that he would build a wall and Mexico would pay for it. And Biden didn't need to threaten trade wars or tariffs or stock market crashes to get it to happen. So even the Biden administration was just simply objectively better in this. You have to actually show something. What have you done, Trump? What was so worth you picking up the stick and going after our opponents? You risked so much, and the long-term material consequences of this relationship may not be seen for another year or 2 years or 3 years or decades. Pathetic, stupid stuff, and she is right to call this out.
This is hilarious to me because Trump got rolled by both of these countries, and no one, least of all Trump, seems to have realized it. Both the leaders of Mexico and Canada have agreed to do what they have already been doing. It's just that Trump didn't seem to know about it. Like, for example, the president of Mexico said that she would commit to having 10,000 troops at the U.S.-Mexico border. Guess what? There are already 15,000 people there, troops, military troops from Mexico there, and have been there for years. Trump didn't seem to notice this. Same deal with Canada. Prime Minister Trudeau said, aha, we're going to spend $1.3 billion on investing in border security. Guess what? They announced that $1.3 billion last year. Oh, but they're also going to have a fentanyl czar, and they're going to have 24/7 eyes on the border. You know, this is about saving face, I guess. I don't know if nobody informed Trump that there are no actual concessions here, but that will, of course, not stop him from claiming victory.
And again, that's all it's about. That's really all it's about. And unfortunately, in today's political climate, that might be all that's necessary, is just for Trump to create a manufactured crisis, risk geopolitical alliances and trading alliances, and just claim the win and hope that the echo chamber, the incredibly powerful and influential echo chamber that is right-wing media, again, Fox News, Newsmax, OAN, Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles, Matt Walsh, Steven Crowder, Tim Pool, Joe Rogan, all just regurgitating this idea, and perception becomes reality. Remember, folks, facts don't speak for themselves. That's why it's so important to have voices like Catherine Rampell, charismatic, funny, fearless, going into the lion's den, so to speak, and making the case. Jessica Tarlov as well. We need more people like this by saying, hey, listen, this is bullshit. All Mexico and Canada did was effectively give Trump what they'd already given President Biden or agreed to give before, back in December when Biden was still president. And Trump is either too stupid or too dishonest to, acknowledge anything else. And this is not a substantive win. This was all risk for no reward. But again, facts don't speak for themselves. It's so important that you and I and everybody else actively make that case, because perception is how people vote. And if the American people believe that, stupid as it may seem, that Donald Trump somehow magically solved, longstanding crises between our northern and southern neighbors and us, they're going to reward him and his party. That's another reason to make this case. The last clip I want to play comes at the end, in which Scott Jennings, again, smug Republican MAGA stooge, who has been triggered throughout all these exchanges with Catherine Rampell, tries to make the case that, the trade war, the potential trade war with Mexico was important to stop fentanyl. Catherine Rampell makes a very good point that MAGA does not want you to know.
On trade, we had people all over this country dying, including in my home state of Kentucky, from fentanyl overdoses. It is a scourge. It is a disaster, and it needs to be dealt with. The illegal immigration crisis is what propelled Trump back to the White House in the first place.
The funding. Whoa.
Just real quick, Catherine.
If you're suggesting this is about reducing fentanyl deaths, which I agree is 100% a very important, critical national issue, why did Trump kill the funding last year that would have put in place better technology at our border to detect fentanyl?
Donald Trump wasn't the president last year. He's the president now.
We got a lot.
We discussed this in previous videos. Yes, that was part of the bipartisan border bill. That was part of the Democrats and President Biden's efforts, was to put state-of-the-art fentanyl detection devices at the southern border, because most fentanyl comes from the southern border, not the northern border, number one. So Canada is a virtual non-entity with respect to this crisis, number one. Number two, most of the fentanyl that comes in from the southern border comes in from American citizens trafficking drugs through the legal ports of entry. So it's not undocumented migrants taking fentanyl in. It's American citizens through the ports of entry, number two. And number three, Trump killed. He sabotaged the attempt to fund these things because he didn't want the crisis to abate on Biden's watch. He wanted to milk the crisis and cost American people their lives in order to benefit from it politically. Pretty gruesome and pathetic stuff. The last thing I'll say, just in general, again, it's so fun to watch MAGA stooges like Scott Jennings be humiliated in prime time on live TV. And I'm just so grateful that Catherine Rampell gave us the opportunity for a double feature just last night, humiliating him on the first panel and then humiliating him on the second panel in person, watching him get triggered in the process. Good stuff. More of that, please. And in the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.